Hi, oupa se seuns. Hoe gaan dit by julle? Are you okay? Yeah, here we are running from one point to the next with big speed. I'm trying to get everything done. So it's quite a challenge for me. But anyway, I've taken some time off to relax and speak to you guys. That always makes me feel better. So we've done the Israelites going from Egypt through the desert and then back into the desert because of the fact that they were disobedient to God, and they had to wander around for 40 years. And then eventually, after 40 years, they came back to the Jordan River, and Moses sent across these spies to have a look at the country, 12 of them, all going to different directions and see what's going on. They came back, reported, and the Israelites did not want to go because they were worried. Okay, and then came the 40 years of wandering around, and then when they got to the Jordan, God said to Moses, "You can't go in because you were disobedient. So you will stay behind." So soon after that, he died, and Joshua became the new leader. And now we read about their conquest, well, getting into the promised land, and then their conquest to settle, their conquest to take over the cities and then to settle in the promised land. Okay, so the Lord guided the Israelites towards the promised land, and Moses led them around the lands of Edom and Moab, because these people were related to Israel. Israel conquered the Amorite king Shihon and King Og of Bashan, securing the territory east of the Jordan River. This land was then given to the tribes of Reuben and Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh. So, this is now before they get into the promised land. Balak, the king of Moab, feared Israel and sent messengers to Balaam in Mesopotamia to ask him to curse the Israelites. Although Balaam initially consulted the Lord and was forbidden to go, God later allowed him to travel with a larger reward, provided that he spoke what the Lord commanded. So on his journey, the angel of the Lord stood in his way, visible first only to Balaam's donkey, which miraculously spoke, protesting Balaam's beating. The angel warned Balaam that he could only speak the words of God that God gave him. So Balaam tried 3 times to curse Israel for Balak, but God compelled him to bless them instead. So Balaam even prophesied about the coming of the Messiah, who would descend from Israel. Since he could not curse Israel, Balaam advised Balak to entice the Israelites into sexual immorality and idolatry, using Midianite women. This act of idolatry resulted in the death of 24,000 people and led Israel to attack the Midianites, where Balaam was killed. So, this was now all before they were on the way to the promised land, next to the promised land on the east side of the Jordan River, where they had to clean up all these people that God instructed them to clean up. So, Moses led the people to the plains of Moab, but was not permitted to cross the Jordan because he had sinned against God. His final duty was to repeat God's law to the people, and he appointed Joshua as the new leader. Moses saw the promised land from the Mount Nebo before he died, and he was 120 years old. Moses was, if we think about it, a type of the Messiah, because he was appointed by God and serving as the mediator and the intercessor for his people. So in a certain sense, he makes us think of Jesus, who was going to follow in 400 years or longer. So after Moses died, God commanded Joshua to be strong and cross the Jordan. Joshua first sent 2 spies to the city of Jericho, and a prostitute named Rahab hid the spies from the king of Jericho, believing the Lord would give Israel the city. So she helped them escape over the wall with a cord, and she and her family were saved when the city was eventually conquered. And Rahab later married into Israel and became an ancestor of Jesus. So from that line, Jesus was born. The Israelites crossed the Jordan when the priest carrying the ark of the covenant stepped into the river. The water stopped flowing upstream, allowing the entire nation to cross on dry land. So somehow the water stopped. God made the water stop. So I can just imagine a wall of water building up, and the entire nation of Israel, that was millions of people, or hundreds of thousands and 1 million or more people, they crossed on dry ground. They erected 12 stones at Gilgal as a memorial of this miracle. And there's something they could show their children, grandchildren, and so on, to tell them about how good the Lord was to them. The Lord instructed them on a unique way to capture Jericho. Remember, they had now to take over Jericho, to conquer it. He let them march around the city once daily for 6 days. Now listen to this. The whole nation with once a day for 6 days. On the 7th day, they marched 7 times. And when the priests blew the trumpets, the city walls collapsed. Only Rahab and her family were spared. Everything else was consecrated, devoted to destruction, was consecrated to the Lord. So Israel was later defeated at Ai because Achan had taken forbidden gold, silver, and a valuable cloak. These were consecrated items. They were supposed to consecrate everything, and instead Achan took some of the stuff for himself. So Achan and his family were punished, and only then did Joshua conquer. The Gibeonites deceived Joshua into making a peace treaty by pretending to be travelers from a far country. Joshua made a covenant without consulting the Lord. But when the deception was found out, he honored the covenant while making the Gibeonites their servants. So during the battle of Gibeon, where 5 kings attacked the Gibeonites, the Lord helped Israel by sending a large hailstorm. And Joshua prayed, and the Lord famously made the sun and the moon stand still. So that was a miracle also. And that ensured the victory. Joshua also defeated 31 northern Canaanite kings at the waters of Merom. So the land was divided amongst the tribes by lot. Even though it was not fully conquered, the tribes were responsible for driving out those remaining Canaanites in the areas where they were given land. Before his death, Joshua urged the people to remain faithful to the Lord and the covenant. He challenged them to choose whom they would serve, God or the pagan gods. And Joshua declared, "But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Joshua died at the age of 110. Now, this thing that he said, that he proclaimed, is also on my fridge, because I also proclaim that me and my Lord, my house, will serve the Lord. So he said, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. On my fridge, I've written the same. Die Dekkers, we and our house, we will serve the Lord. Isn't that wonderful? That's something that you guys must also write down somewhere, because one day you will have a house, and the Lord has descendants in the row of faithful people, people of faith. And it started with us and our grandparents and great-grandparents, and before them, there's a line of faithful people, people who believe in God. And now this needs to carry on, because the Lord has got something in line for us in the future that we don't know. What we do know is that if Jesus comes, we have to be there, and we have to stand before him. Not maybe you and I, maybe we will, but if not, our children or our grandchildren or the descendants that come far after them. When they stand before the Lord, they have to be disciples of Christ. Otherwise, they will not see the light of the new heaven and the new earth. Jesus will not take them with him. He will only take those who believe in him, who trust in him. So we have to make sure that our kids, firstly you and I, and then your kids and grandkids and whatever follows after that, God willing, will have to be faithful and have to be disciples of Jesus Christ. So think about that. It's a very great responsibility, and I feel that every day. Okay, that's it for today. So the Israelites are in the land Canaan, and they all have their land, and they're going to start living there. All right. Remember, Opa and Oma love you too. Take care. Sleep tight. Ciao, ciao.